What do you say to Democratic voters who argue, wait a minute, we worked really hard to elect a Democratic president and vice president, Democratic-led House, a Democratic-led Senate. Do it now.
But do what now? What now? I mean, listen, what we did, we extended the child tax credit for the first year.
I'm sorry, when I say do it now, act legislatively to make abortion rights legal.
Women in this country are doomed because you just heard from Vice President Kamala Harris during her interview with Dana Bash on CNN, and she revealed just how ill-prepared and honestly careless the Democratic Party under the leadership of the Biden administration is in responding to the fact that the Supreme Court has reversed Roe, effectively stripping women of the constitutional protections necessary to ensure that they have reproductive rights. Now, if that part of the interview didn't infuriate you enough, you're about to hear from Kamala Harris respond to calls to do something about the legislative filibuster in the Senate that requires 60 senators to vote in favor of something in order for any bill to pass. Now, the idea is, well, for reproductive rights, there should be some sort of carve out. So while Democrats have a majority in Congress, they can get these protections passed. But let's take a look at what Kamala Harris has to say about that strategy, that suggestion.
One of the ways you can do it, obviously, one of the only way that is legislatively, procedurally possible is by doing away with the filibuster on this issue. President Biden told my colleague Anderson Cooper he would be okay with eliminating the filibuster to pass voting rights and, quote, maybe more. Would you support eliminating the filibuster in order to pass federal legislation for abortion rights?
Right now, given the current composition of the Senate, the votes aren't there.
But would you use the bully pulpit to say, yes, I support it?
Well, here's the thing. I understand why you're asking the question, but the reality of it is we don't even get to really answer that in terms of whether it happens or not if we don't have the numbers in the Senate. And again, that's why I keep coming back to the importance of an election that is only 130 odd days away, because it really does matter.
It really does matter. I mean, listen, guys, we could actually fight for this right now. You know, kind of like how we did for raising the debt ceiling back in 2021. But we could use this tragedy for our own fundraising and campaigning purposes. So I'm gonna campaign right now. Please elect more of us, even though we've completely dropped the ball and haven't delivered what we said we would deliver as we were campaigning. When those runoff senatorial elections were taking place in Georgia, and we were telling the American people how important it was to ensure that those two Democratic candidates won the Senate seats, because that would mean we'd have the majority and we could actually get our agenda done. We were lying actually about that. We were just lying. Because even with that majority, we have done nothing with it. And real quick, I just want to give you the details on what I mean about the debt ceiling argument here. So in order to address an impasse over the debt ceiling, Democratic and Republican leaders have agreed, this is a piece from December of 2021, have agreed to a measure that raises the debt limit with just 51 votes, instead of the 60 that are required if a bill is filibustered. Now, Cenk, if they had failed to raise the debt ceiling, if they failed to make that carve out in the filibuster to raise the debt ceiling, what would happen to their stock portfolios?
Well, their stock portfolios would crash and they would lose a lot of money.
Wow. Seems like there was a pretty significant incentive there for them to fight for a carve out in the filibuster. But when it comes to our reproductive rights, which they purport to be in support of, no, what can we do? You just gotta elect more of us. Do nothing, pathetic Democrats. Please elect more of us. Yeah. Now, both Biden and Kamala Harris should be locked in a basement. They shouldn't be doing press interviews because every time they speak, it's infuriating.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different issues here. First, when Dana Bash asks for, hey, are you guys going to act on abortion? She's like, and do what? Are you serious? Well, you could pass a federal law. I mean, and I thought at first she was being glib, like, no, I'm gonna need you to ask a specific question because I don't wanna answer it. No, I think she genuinely didn't know what Dana Bash was talking about, because then she mentioned the child tax credit. If I was the president and the vice president and this happened, I wouldn't have had a meeting now. I would have had a meeting when the original leak happened about what are all of our options. But at a bare minimum, after the court has actually ruled, did you guys not have a goddamn meeting about what all of your options are to fight back? And I'm telling you right now, I don't think they did. I don't think they had a single meeting about it, because they know for a fact that they're not going to do anything. They're not even going to try to do anything. So that's why Kamala Harris is like, why? Well, what could we do? You moron, you went on national TV without checking what you can do on abortion when you're going to talk about abortion after Roe has been overturned. That's unbelievable. She's a national embarrassment. Okay, then number two, finally, Bash lays it out. You know, you could pass a law, they're called bills. And so she's like, oh, yeah, now there aren't the votes for it. So give us more votes. But wait. Let's two things on that. Number one, Anna's 100% right. You guys only needed 50 votes on the debt ceiling. You made an exception to the filibuster. You're not even talking about making an exception in the case of women's rights. By the way, also voting rights, and also your so-called entire economic agenda. So you are saying here definitively, I care so much more about my money in the stock market than I do about women's rights or voting rights. We don't care about you. We only care about ourselves. When it was their money on the line, they immediately got rid of the filibuster, immediately made an exception for it. It wasn't even controversial. Do you remember the debate? You don't remember the debate, right? Because there was no debate. They're like, oh, everybody want to protect their own money? And all the millionaires agree. All the millionaires agree. They protect their money. Women's rights, who cares? Vote for us. Why? What the hell would you do? What the hell would you do? You wouldn't do anything. That gets to the last point. So she says, oh, there's a couple of elections. She said in other parts of the interview, there's in North Carolina, Georgia, and they're very important elections. Are they? First of all, let's say that you got a couple more senators. Would you then get rid of the filibuster?
Nope.
There's no indication you would. They asked her about Joe Biden and his stance on the filibuster. What does she think? They asked her specifically, Dana Bash specifically asked, what do you think about getting rid of the filibuster? She said the president has spoken on it. The president, you heard the quote from Bash. The president only said maybe on voting rights, sure, and maybe other stuff. That's not a position. That's not saying, hey, you elect 2 more Democratic senators, then we don't have to worry about Manchin and Sinema. We're gonna get rid of the filibuster. We're gonna get women's rights. We're gonna get voting rights, etc. No, they don't even say that. They're just telling you, give us more power and we'll make other excuses, and we make no promises at all to get rid of the filibuster, no promises at all to do anything we've ever said. Understand this, because mainstream media brainwashes everybody. They gaslight everybody. All of the politicians are liars. You all know that. You know it in your gut. You know it when you watch the videos. But then you turn on CNN, MSNBC, you read New York Times, and they tell you, no, these are honorable people, wonderful strategists, and Democrats are in favor of women's rights. Really? Because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it, and I can show you definitive evidence right there. They're not gonna do a goddamn thing. The Republicans are worse, but that is not a campaign strategy. That is not principles. That is not something people can say, yes, we've got people on our side. These Democrats are cowards, they're corrupt, and they don't have your back. They're goddamn liars, and you would all know that if mainstream media didn't lie to you 24/7 to protect them.
And I just want to juxtapose what Kamala Harris said to what the former head of the Republican National Committee, Michael Steele, said of Republicans if they had, and will very likely have, a majority in Congress, even if it's a simple majority in the Senate. What would they do if they get hold and control of both chambers of Congress and the presidency? Would they pass a law, a federal law, banning abortion? And here's what he has to say. Just understand the juxtaposition here, the difference in understanding power.
they will pass a federal ban on abortion. Do you believe that would happen, Michael?
Yes, without doubt or hesitation. They'll set the marker. They'll set the marker, and if they have the House and the Senate,
will they overturn the filibuster to do it?
Absolutely, absolutely, because it's in their base's interest to do so. That's the difference politically between the two parties. Republicans will go, oh yeah, the Constitution and the filibuster, all the traditions, the sanctity of the Senate. They don't give a rat's patootie about that when it's the bottom line in politics and power.
He goes on to talk about how the Democratic Party seems to have this admiration for tradition and the importance of the Senate parliamentarian and the filibuster. But do they really, or do they use those arbitrary rules and arbitrary traditions as an excuse to not accomplish a damn thing? And it seems like it's always one convenient excuse after the next, even though there's historical evidence, including, by the way, the passage of the Civil Rights Bill and the Voting Rights Bill under Lyndon B. Johnson. You can look at that historical evidence. When it came to the Civil Rights Bill, Lyndon Johnson needed to persuade literally like dozens of lawmakers to sign on. And he was relentless, using the bully pulpit, using threats when he needed to, using certain policy issues as leverage against the members of Congress who were standing in his way. Is there any strategy from the Democratic Party today? Any strategy at all? Dana Bash asked Kamala Harris a question about whether or not the Biden administration is considering using federal land to provide abortion access to women who now are banned from getting abortions in red states. And she's like, we haven't talked about it. Have you guys talked about anything? No, you haven't. So what is the case to vote for you? Fear-mongering about the Republican Party over and over again is not gonna work. And I love how in the beginning of that interview, Cenk, this is the final thing I'll say. When she begins to answer Dana Bash's question, she starts talking about the child tax credit. Are you bragging about the child tax credit that has expired? That you guys claimed you were gonna make permanent, but it expired? You think you're gonna take that to the campaign trail and the American people are gonna be like, yeah, you guys nailed it. You guys nailed, thanks for that expired program that I don't benefit from anymore. Yeah, you guys nailed it.
So Michael Steele is not just a former Republican, he's the former head of the Republican Party. And he's just told you, oh yeah, the Republicans get in charge. They're gonna get rid of that filibuster immediately and ban abortion everywhere. Not just the red states, California, New York, Hawaii, Rhode Island, gone. Abortion is not legal, and they're gonna start putting women in prison. They're gonna start putting doctors in prison. Okay, their side is willing to do anything and everything. They've been trying to tear down Roe v. Wade for 50 years. They were relentless. Our side, Roe gets overturned. They're like, well, we didn't even have a meeting about it. I don't know. We're not gonna do anything. Give us more power, and then we still won't do anything. And then what will they ask for next? They'll ask for 60 senators because they don't want to get rid of the filibuster. And is 100% right. It ain't about the parliamentarian. They don't care about that at all. It's nothing but a lie. All they care about is the filibuster protects their donors. That way they don't have to take embarrassing votes on paid family leave, which the donors don't want, higher wages, which the donors don't want. All these things that help the American workers, which the donors don't want. That's why they want the filibuster. And all of this, women's rights, voting rights, are collateral damage in the corruption, the infinite corruption of the Democratic Party. They lie to you 24/7. They have no plan to do anything. And when they had the 60 votes, when they had a super majority under Obama, did they do anything? We're gonna talk more about it in the show later, because AOC now is even pretending that they couldn't. No, they chose not to do anything about it. Obama and Pelosi both said, not a priority, don't care. But when it comes to money, it's always the #1 priority for corrupt, lying, horrible Democratic politicians. Everything I say about Democrats is twice as true for Republicans. Don't ever let anybody lie to you that Republicans are any better. They're the scum of the earth. They institutionalize corruption, but at least they're obvious about it. I mean, you'd have to be an idiot not to know the Republicans are corrupt and for the rich. but the Democrats pretend to be your friends. And the minute they get a chance, they help the Republicans rob you blind, and they never fight for you. You have to get rid of every goddamn Democratic incumbent that is in the establishment. Everyone in Democratic leadership is horrible. They're all liars. They're never gonna help you. They are enemies. They're not our goddamn colleagues. They're not our goddamn friends. They're not on our side. You have to vote for progressives who are going to take on and yes, fight Democratic leadership. Hey, progressives in Congress, I got news for you. Democratic leadership does not agree with you on a single issue, not on a single issue, and they fight you 1,000 times more effectively than Republicans do. If you don't realize that there are enemies and not our friends or allies, then you miss the whole goddamn point, and you're useless up there if you're not fighting them. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden will never do anything about women's rights. She just told you. So what are you gonna do, sit there and take it? Or are you gonna get new Democratic leadership? Are you gonna fight them so that we can actually have anyone at all to represent us? That's up to you guys.
And finally, let me just say, if I were the nation's first vice president of the United States, female vice president of the United States, and reproductive rights were rolled back and stripped from women under an administration that I'm serving under, I'd be on the warpath. But she's just chilling. And that's the part that's just so incredibly insulting about all of this.